The number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Patrick Cristiano, your host, the publisher of TheaterLife.com, a website for theater buffs in New York City and the Hamptons. We cover Broadway and off-Broadway theater, as well as social events here in the Hamptons and in New York City. And I'm coming to you from the LTV studio in Wainscott, where I have a really cool guest today, Mikelle Terson. Correct?
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Thank you.
Mikelle, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for coming to do this.
You're welcome. It's such an honor. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Mikelle is a jewelry designer, but she's had a very interesting journey getting there because she was an actress and a singer and a dancer and a gymnast. Is that right, in school?
Yeah, not a singer. I won't claim being a singer, but yeah, I was a gymnast, and I taught yoga for many years as well. Yeah.
But you didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but did not yoga come out of your gymnast injury?
Yes.
Yes, so that's where I was going to go to. So as a gymnast in school, you had some sort of an injury that happened to you?
Yeah, I was competing for University of Florida. I was on scholarship down in Florida, and I was working out in a cold gym, and my shoulder muscle just completely seized, and it formed into this big, like, hard softball. So I had to stop gymnastics. And having been in training all those years, from when I was a kid, I started at 9 all the way to almost 19. I had a lot of energy because I had been working out all those years, and yoga was the way for me to kind of find balance again. I was really lucky that I found yoga. Yeah.
What made you go to yoga? How did it happen?
A man. Doesn't it very often come down to a man? I met a man when I was down in Florida, and he had this quality of something that it was some intangible, and I really admired it. He just had this light about him, and he was very calm. And so I wound up dating him, and after college I went out and I studied yoga with him.
Now, how long after the accident was it?
2 years. 2 years.
So
yeah.
what, you had nothing to help you in that 2 years in between?
It was a process. Wow, coming from being, an athlete where you're working out every day to not doing everything, it was a real process. And also my body changed tremendously because as a gymnast, I weighed about 101 pounds and I was barely 5 foot, a little over 5 foot. And as soon as I stopped, I grew 4 inches and put on 15 pounds. I grew 4 inches in my 20s.
But that was just an accident. It wasn't a result of stopping.
I think it was. I think that when you, as a woman working out that much, I think it actually held back my hormones. And then when all of a sudden I stopped,
because you were young,
I had 4% body fat. I was just
How old were you?
Well, when I was down at Florida, I was 17, and I
4%
stopped
body
at 18.
fat.
Yeah, and I stopped at 18. So that was a really
But
big
you had
life
started this a
change.
long time ago, right?
Yeah, I started at 9.
So from 9 to 18,
9
so
to
9
18.
years,
Yeah.
almost a decade.
Yeah, like working out 5 hours a day. It was a lot. I loved every second of it.
And what was your specialty? What was your?
I like floor exercise because I love dancing, and I had a floor exercise routine to the Pink Panther, and I had a lot of false stops. So at one point it seemed like my routine was over, and then the music would start again, and the audience would laugh. I loved being expressive in that way. Yeah.
Oh. Well, we met at the horse show last year because as a jewelry designer, you go to the horse show every year and you have a booth there. And somehow we found you, and Barry remembered you, and we both loved you, and we thought you were a fascinating person. And the more I get to know you, the more interested in your journey.
Thank you so much.
It is. So what I found really fascinating is after your gymnastic injury and you go into yoga, you wrote a book about yoga. We have an image of the book. Do we have that? This is how to draw yoga stick figures?
And this book started out as a joke because
What do you mean?
Well, I was at a conference, and I had always been like a school, the person in school that did art. I had always done art my whole life. So I was at a big conference, and very often you'll copy down the choreography of what the master teacher is doing. And so I was sitting there drawing this, and people were freaking out because a lot of people have a lot of trauma around drawing if they're not an artist. And they came to me and they're, can you show me how to do it? And I said, I'm going to write you guys a book, never thinking that I would. And
Oh, so you were just making the book for the class people.
yeah, I was doing it, and then this book has sold all around the world. In the most obscure places, I get orders for it. It's really, and in a lot of training programs, it's a staple book.
Is it self-published or?
Yeah, it's self-published. Yeah.
And okay, so, and then, we have some excerpts. What is this about? This is from the book, right?
This is from the book, and so I did it. Do you remember how we used to learn the alphabet, where you would go like A across a grid? Did you have to learn that way when you were learning penmanship?
I don't think so,
You
but
didn't?
if I don't, I'm too old and I don't remember.
Well, that's how I learned. So I tried to do the book like that. So I start with the head, the position of the head, and then the spine, and then the arms, and then the legs. So by the end, you actually know how to draw it almost like a letter of the alphabet.
And we have more images from the book, I think, some of the stick figures, is that right?
This actually, after I did the book, I did a flashcard deck so that people could flip through it and learn the names of the postures really quickly, and this is the diagram of the sun salutations.
So the book evolved into a flashcard deck, which I thought we had an image of.
Yeah, that's the page of the book. That's the eagle pose, or Garudasana.
And
I was going to have you try that if you want.
I
I thought you could try the posture if you want.
You want to?
Yeah, you can even do it seated. I mean, it's normally done stood, but can you, standing, can you cross one leg over the other?
Wait, this is your deck.
Oh, okay.
Somehow, so from the book evolved the deck, and they're flashcards to show you different postures in yoga is what
Yeah,
it's
so
about.
it has the stick figure on one side and the information on the other side.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to try, I'll do this.
You're going to do this posture? Okay, great.
Should I stand up?
Let's do it seated because I think it'll be easier.
Okay, so what do I do?
So you might kick off your shoes. You can decide. So you're going to just cross your legs like the way my legs are crossed. So you cross one thigh over the other. And I love your red socks. They're perfect. And red is the color of first chakra, so you're perfect.
Oh.
Then see if you can take your foot and just tuck it behind.
I can't do that.
So that's what we would be working toward, is tucking it behind.
Okay, I used to be
You're
able to
close.
do that.
You're close. You're very
but
close.
I used to be able to do, so that's what
Yeah.
that's what we have to do?
Yeah, that would be one of the postures. It's a more advanced posture, but it's fun because it turns you into a pretzel, and then you do the same thing with your arms. Do you want to try your arms?
I want to get on with you, I think.
Okay.
I feel like I flunked as the first guinea pig because I couldn't do the first
I
posture.
think I chose the wrong posture. Sorry.
But so where you digressed me. So these are more.
Yeah, this just meant this is at the end of the book, and it just means that it's about learning through joy.
It looks like a happy guy.
Yeah, that's a happy stick figure. And this was just to show some of the postures were really difficult to represent in 2 dimensions. So this is someone seated with both legs behind their head, and then their hands are through their legs, and they have their hands in prayer position. So I have boxes and boxes.
And you can get into these positions?
Sometimes, not always. If I'm doing a lot of yoga, I can. Yeah.
So this is fascinating. So how did you get to the jewelry next? How did jewelry evolve out of this?
I was traveling with private clients. One in particular, I traveled all over the world, and I would go to flea markets or go into little shops, and I would pick up pendants. And then I'd get back to the States, and I'd be like, this is so much nicer if. And then I actually went to the jewelry district, and I asked how I could do certain things. And people in the jewelry industry, I find incredibly generous.
Really?
So a lot of people taught me how to do certain things. And then I was wearing them for myself, and a couple of times people actually stopped me in the street and bought things off my neck. So I was like, this might be a good idea. And one day I brought a box of things I had made to a yoga conference, and within a couple of hours everything sold. So
How many items?
I had at least 20.
Wow.
I had at least 20 pieces. And they weren't inexpensive pieces because I work in 18 karat gold. So it was really fun. It was fun to kind of create something in a vacuum and then have it be received by people, because you never know when you create art, right?
Well,
it
yeah,
was fun.
please yourself. At least you
Yeah.
know somebody is satisfied is my
Yeah.
philosophy.
And I can always wear it. Yeah.
No, but seriously, when in doubt, please yourself. At least you know someone is satisfied.
Yeah, that's
It actually
wonderful.
comes from Katharine Hepburn. It's not an original.
Oh, okay.
But I loved it, and whenever I can't make up my mind about something, that's what I do.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So now you have a website. So how people want to find out about your jewelry? How would they do this?
My jewelry website is mikelledesign.com, like my name, MIKELLE, design.com. And my yoga website is called Yoga Blossom, is the name of my yoga company.
Oh, so you have two websites.
Yeah.
And so you teach yoga, and people can find you through Yoga Blossom, is it? Or
Yeah.
if they want to see more of your jewelry, they'll just go to your website and see. They have all kinds of images and stuff like that. And I guess you do commission stuff too, right? If
Yeah.
people have things they want to incorporate into
Yeah, a
it.
lot of people have old pieces and they don't know what to do with it, and then I've taken them and reworked them for them to make them more contemporary or to make them the right length that somebody wants. That's fun.
Oh, I'm sure that's fun. So we also have some of the pieces, some of your jewelry pieces. We have some images. Tell us what this is made of and what it is.
Well, my favorite thing is to take things that I find and rework them in some way. So this is a pendant from India. It's made from etched glass. The glass itself and the image came from an altar that was over 200 years old.
That's a piece that's hanging down the pendant kind of.
Yeah, and so it's etched glass, and it's got an image of Krishna Radha, which are the divine couple. It means the perfect balance of masculine and feminine, and it's strung on emerald.
So a lot of your jewelry has a theme of harmony?
Harmony, or the goddesses represent different energies like abundance, or Ganesh, who's the elephant god, represents overcoming obstacles and blessing new beginnings. So I would say that the majority of my pieces have some kind of meaning or a symbol in them.
So let's have that. Let's go back to the other one again. The one we just had up. I just want to.
That was the emerald and the etched altar glass.
Can we go back to that previous one?
The reason I'm so
That one.
fascinated.
The reason I want to ask, I just wanted to go back to this one because I wanted to ask you now the other stones. What are they?
Those are emeralds, and those emeralds are antique emeralds that I bought from an old Indian dealer.
You mean all those are emeralds?
Yeah,
So this is a
they're
really
all-
expensive piece?
Yeah, it's fairly expensive.
Oh,
It's
wow.
Several $1,000.
I can imagine if it's all
And
emeralds.
it's 18 karat gold and emerald. And the emerald came from Afghanistan. It's
Oh.
antique emerald from Afghanistan.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you.
Next.
This is Baroque pearl, and then this is a vintage pendant. And I dusted it in gold and put those together. It's quite a big piece. It's a very big statement piece.
So how, like the pendant, approximately how many inches in diameter?
3.5,
Okay.
maybe 3.
No. Okay. Next. We have another one. Oh, beautiful.
That's a vintage heart, and that stone is sapphire.
And with gold in between, right?
18 karat gold.
And like that heart, what's the diameter
I
now?
would say it's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches.
So it's a little bit smaller, but
Yeah.
it's got a. Now, where'd you find that?
That came from an Indian family that I very often got pieces from. They went back and forth to India, and they were wonderful to work with. They don't do it anymore, unfortunately, but I got some really beautiful things from
So
them.
do you find people like this in your travels, or do you seek them out?
Both. And also in the jewelry district, because people know I'm a yogi, that's really helped me, believe it or not. You know, the old dealer that I was telling you about, because I was a yogi and he related to that because he was Indian, he would go into his secret stashes and you know, like show me really special stuff. For a while I was doing a lot with African pieces. And this man called me up and he said, it was almost like in the middle of the night, and he sold me a dinosaur bone and a mastodon tooth. I haven't used the mastodon tooth, but I do
What
have
does it look like, a mastodon
It looks
tooth?
like a big shark's tooth.
Is it pretty?
Yeah, pretty in an earthy way. You know, it's kind of intimidating. It's big and it's like...
You know,
Yeah.
what I find really interesting and fascinating, especially since I've been doing the show, is the process that people go through and how things accumulate, or that serve, like the yogi thing, how that ultimately, it was part of your process, and it was part of your healing process too. But then it goes back to be something that serves you, not only in a healing way, but in bringing more stuff to you. I find it interesting that what I'm learning and doing these interview shows, people have a process, and all the processes, if you're organic about it, that it leads to something else, or even the trying to do something and failing at it leads to something that you're more successful at. It's been really interesting. So when you say that the yogi helped you get even better jewelry pieces, sometimes I find that enlightening as well too.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. Maybe that is the path of the artist, to really trust flow, because one thing kind of folds into each other, and then also the energy that I bring to my work is very much informed by yoga. Either I'm looking at Indian gods and goddesses, or just the energy. I never make jewelry if I don't feel like I'm in a good place. And very often I'll chant or put on chanting music as I make it, because I really do believe that the energy that is in the piece as I'm making it is important, that it stays there. And even with antiques, there are antiques I see and it just doesn't have good energy, so I won't buy it, I won't make something with it.
How can you feel that you can feel the energy?
It's just either you're drawn to it and it has like an awe feeling, or there's something cold and negative about it. And that's one thing that I feel is the greatest compliment, and I feel very blessed that I've gotten it often, is that people will say that they'll open their jewelry box and they have all this jewelry, but the one they're drawn to is the piece that I made.
Aww.
That makes me feel really good. I feel like hopefully I'm passing that yoga energy on through the work I'm doing in the stones and the metals.
Well,
Not to mention that the goddesses and those symbols have their energy that they
they
represent.
impart onto it. So you're getting multiple energies
Yeah.
through a piece to lift your spirit, and that's what jewelry is supposed to do. It's supposed to energize you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the original thing about big stones. Is that am I correct?
Yes, a lot of the stones have real healing powers, or they have ability to shift energy. I had a lemon topaz ring for years, and I loved it, but I never had any desire to wear it. And then I had this flu that would not go away. And all of a sudden it was like I needed that, I had a craving for an ice cream or something. And I wore that ring for about a month, and then I got better. Whether the ring healed me or not, I don't know, but that did happen together, where I had this craving to wear it, and then I started getting better. So
How long ago was that?
that was probably 10 years ago.
And were you conscious of it? Were you conscious of the process as it was happening, or did you just go with it?
I was conscious that I had this craving to wear the ring. Now, whether the ring actually healed me, I don't know.
But what I was asking, in the consciousness of the craving to wear the ring, did you also subliminally think that it was going to be something that would be healing to you?
Yeah, I trust those things.
So
I
when
figure if I craved it, I needed it in some way.
And you felt like you needed it for your healing. That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
And you were instinctively knew that.
Yeah.
Now that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Where do you think all this came from? Trusting your instincts like that.
Oh, that's such an interesting question. I had a very out-of-the-box mother, She was just an original. She didn't care what anybody thought. I grew up in Long Island. I grew up in Merrick, Long Island, and she didn't know how to drive. She had no desire to learn how to drive, which was really hard when you have 3 kids, not to have a car in Long Island. So she would ride around on her bike, and she always wore a bandana, and she was just... So I think she always encouraged me to kind of go to the beat of my own drum. She was that kind of an influence,
Cool.
Yeah.
So in doing that, she taught you to trust your instincts. Is that right?
I think she was a good example of that, yeah. And also, I don't think my intuitions were ever minimized. I think they were supported. And also, I feel very blessed that I always had a sense of spirituality. I didn't even know what that meant, but I felt a real connection to something bigger than myself. So I think I learned at an early age to kind of listen to that, because I always felt connected to something bigger.
So is that something you think you were born with, or something?
I do. I've talked to people, and I've been in situations where people have to kind of try to find that, and I never had to find it. So I feel so blessed by that. I just always felt it. Even as a kid, I had this real sense of communication with animals.
Your mother, was she spiritual too?
She was spiritual in a different way. She was a devout Catholic. I read passages.
So she really was a rigid spiritualist.
Well, you have to mix like a rigid religion with a totally out of the box person.
Oh, okay.
That's,
yes,
that's
you
who
said
my
that.
mom was.
Got it. So she made it a lot up.
She made her own form of it, but she did go to Novena all the time. Like she was devout in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had to search to find my spirituality, and that was a journey for me as well too. So I find that interesting.
And did you get there? Do you feel like you?
Oh
have,
yeah. Oh yeah. Because that's why yes, in terms of trusting my instincts and going to positive energy and seeing, feeling. Yeah. Yeah, I have a real sense of spirituality today that I never had before.
Did you feel like it was, now I'm interviewing you, but I'm really curious about this. Did you feel like you remembered something that just had kind of gotten pushed away, or did you feel like you found something new? I'm just curious.
I never thought about it like that. So, I mean, only in you asking that question do I now want to be with it deeper, because I thought I found something new, but maybe I didn't, because I wasn't open to that possibility in answering your question. But let's get back to your jewelry. We have
Okay.
we have a few more pieces. I want to, because we're getting low on time. This is gorgeous too.
This is a fabulous stone called Larimar, and it's only found in the Dominican Republic. It's volcanic, and it was named Larimar because the person who discovered it, his daughter's name was Larissa, and then Mar means ocean. So because of the blue color, it's like a Caribbean blue ocean. So that's
a
how I got
beautiful
the name
color.
Larimar.
And then that's 18 karat gold pieces in between
Yeah,
it?
big gold globes. So they almost look like little footballs. But
And
yeah.
so this is a bracelet and a necklace?
And earrings.
Oh, and earrings too. I see them in the, yeah. And how long is the necklace about? How many?
18 inches.
Oh,
Yeah.
are most of them your pieces 18?
16 to 18, unless I do something purposely long. Yeah.
Okay. Is that Larimar again?
No, this is turquoise, Sleepy
Oh.
Beauty turquoise, which is comes from the States, and it's called Sleeping Beauty because the mine looks like a woman lying down. And the turquoise itself is very high quality because it has very little specks in it, and the color is very pure. If you see, it's a very bright blue. And that's an antique 22 karat pendant. This one hangs vertically, but traditionally that pendant hangs horizontally, and I turned it around and worked it differently.
Oh, how
Yeah.
cool. Oh, cool. Oh, how sweet.
So that's from my Happy Planet collection. So I did a collection.
So what's the Happy Planet collection? What is that?
It's a group of necklaces and products I did so that I could give money to animal organizations. So a
Oh.
percentage of the proceeds go to animal organizations. So far we have a horse and an elephant. Elephant was the first one. And last year I did a bee, a happy bee or a bee happy necklace. And this year I'm so excited because one of my old yoga clients is going to match any of the sales between now and the end of the Hampton Classic up to $50,000. So we'll be giving that money to various charities.
Oh,
yeah, isn't that wonderful?
How can you promote it? How do you promote that?
Here, hopefully I just did.
I mean, because yeah, I got is it on the website? I mean,
It will be on the website, and also I'm hoping that the charities that we choose, and we're speaking to different ones, will help promote it as well.
so tell our audience, when is the Hampton Classic coming up?
The Hampton Classic is this August. It's August 26th through September 3rd, and so we'll be selling the necklaces there. But also you can check on the website.
But you'll have a booth.
I have a booth. I think this is my 14th year. It's just so hard to believe.
And you'll have other things besides just the
all my pieces will be.
So there'll be a lot of
Yeah.
stuff for people to see
Yeah.
at the Hampton Classic. But you're also at the Sag Harbor show too, isn't that
Yeah,
correct?
there's a Sag Harbor show on Father's Day, and then there's another one that happens right after the Hampton Classic. I think it's the weekend after the Hampton Classic.
Is that Harborfest?
Yeah,
is that what that is?
Harborfest, yeah.
So
That's
you'll
always
be at
fun.
Harborfest as well.
Yeah.
So we have a couple more minutes. Do we have some more pieces? We didn't see all the jewelry or not? Yeah, we have some
Oh, this
more.
is my Zuri collection. This is an antique Ethiopian cross, and it actually closes. So when it's closed, it looks like that cross shape. and then when you open it, it's a painting. And that's antique Tibetan coral.
And this is open now, right?
This is open, yeah. And then it's mixed with Tibetan coral, antique coral, and
Is that the red? Is that
the
pink,
red is the
pink,
coral, and then Mexican silver, old Mexican silver. I like taking different cultures and working them together. I think that's really interesting. This is the dinosaur bone I was talking about. It's got, you can't see it, it's also got African amber, antique African amber, but the beads in the front are dinosaur bone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that all the pieces we have?
This is my favorite go-to piece. It's a Ganesh ring, and this one's 18 karat gold. This was shot. That picture was shot.
You did this.
This I cast from an antique.
Okay.
This is one of the first antiques I got, and I felt like it was a gift to me from the universe for my company because it represents blessing new beginnings.
Oh, say it again.
Ganesh, the god Ganesh, represents blessing new beginnings.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so that was this.
So maybe we get some new beginnings to give me better posture.
You're doing great. You look great.
Yeah.
This is very long. It's just on that vase, and it's amberoid, which comes from Africa. And then the piece itself is an old Moroccan pendant, and it used to have this spike coming out of it because it was used to close the capes when the men rode on their camels. It's about 200 years old. So I took it to a show in California, and I got stopped by the TSA, and they wanted to confiscate it because it had this big spike, and I'm like, no, don't take it, and I just took off the spike. They let me keep it, so now it doesn't have a spike. But
unfortunately, we're running out of time.
it goes so quickly.
We have about 30 seconds. 20. Is there another piece of jewelry that we didn't get to see, or do we see them all? They're just going to have to go to. I guess we saw them all. So, and we have about 10 seconds. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
I hope
Thank
people will go to
you.
the website and look at your jewelry and get around to see you.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
Yes,
What a pleasure.
thank you
Thanks
so much.
Okay.